Hi guys, my name is Christine, and today I'm talking about why I haven't uploaded to this channel in a while, and basically what I went through and how it has made me so much stronger. So, at the end of May, I had what was called IUI, and this was my first ever attempt at trying to conceive, because we've been planning to have kids for a while. Everything was ready. And I went in for this procedure called IUI, which is where they basically put a semen specimen directly into my uterus, which we got from a donor, an anonymous donor. And basically, I was really lucky in the fact that I got pregnant first time. But unfortunately, it resulted in a miscarriage. We went in for what would have been the nearly 9 week scan, and there was something in there, but it was only measuring at about 6 weeks, which is quite the setback considering how basically it was pretty obvious that this was going to result in miscarriage. And when we first saw the ultrasound, we kind of knew, we could kind of tell that this isn't going to work out. But I needed to go in for a second scan. And these scans, by the way, were provided by our fertility clinic, these first couple of scans. And so the second scan, I was sort of a little bit in denial for a little bit in between these scans. And I was thinking, oh, maybe it's just measuring small because I ovulated late, or because, just different things. My menstrual periods are usually, there's quite a big gap, they're quite long. So I thought, oh, maybe it's just because of that, maybe. So I had a little bit of hope, but there was always something in the back of my mind that was not giving into this hope too much. And I thought something could be wrong, and something was definitely wrong. And so it was very difficult it was difficult on both sides. Like, it was difficult not to get my hopes up, but that everything was going to be okay. But it was also difficult to, I didn't want to let it in too much. And it was kind of weird, like throughout the entire pregnancy, my wife was really happy and excited throughout the entire thing until we actually went to that scan. But I was too, but there was always something in the back of my mind that just didn't seem right. And I didn't want to dive into it too much, but I also didn't want to dive into the hope and the happiness too much, even though I was overjoyed when we got that first pregnancy test, that first positive pregnancy test. So anyway, we went in for the second scan, and our suspicions were correct. Nothing had grown. It even looked like it had shrunk a little bit, but I think that was just because the sonographer, didn't really have to do too much work. We were kind of already guessing. She was just looking for any kind of growth, but the measurements were a little bit off than the first scan that we had. But she was just checking basically to confirm that it hadn't grown. So she didn't do like a thorough sonograph. She just went in to just have a little look. Basically, it wasn't very long, at least not as long as the first scan that we had. So anyway, we got referred to a early pregnancy unit because they can't really do anything when it comes to miscarriage, the fertility clinic. They can only refer us to an early pregnancy place where in the UK the NHS deals with that sort of thing. So we had a third scan, and that was about another week later. And, well, actually, no, it wasn't a week. It was a couple of days afterwards, actually. It was maybe about 2 or 3 days after the last scan at the clinic. And we go in there, and basically they confirm everything again. But they did say I needed to go in for another scan a week later because they couldn't really take the scans I had at the fertility clinic into account because obviously it's not NHS. And the NHS have their own set of rules. So basically we was at square one from that scan, and it felt like we had to go in for another one. But it didn't get to that point because I miscarried naturally at home about 5 days after the third scan, and we were scheduled to go in. I had the miscarriage on a Wednesday, and we were scheduled to go in for our fourth scan, but our second scan with the NHS on Friday. And I miscarried on the Wednesday, so it didn't get to that point. So during this period, with being pregnant, knowing I'm going to have a miscarriage, it was very difficult for me to keep consistent with this particular channel. It's a lot easier for me to stay consistent with my relationship and dating channel, although I did have a few gaps there, to grieve, because it's when you think you're pregnant, and then you find out you're gonna have a miscarriage and your baby has essentially died. And you kind of, even though I said that I didn't have that much hope, but I was, happy that I was pregnant, and I did, it was just something in the back of my mind that told me something was wrong. But mostly at the forefront, I thought everything was going to be fine. We got maternity clothes for me. We didn't get anything for the baby yet because obviously it was very early on. But, we were, expecting, and we was expecting things to be okay. We was expecting to have a baby at the end of this. Our baby was going to be due in February. So it was very sad, and I was grieving a lot, and so was my wife. It's probably the most heartbreaking thing we've ever been through together. It's definitely been the worst thing we've ever gone through. Especially in terms of me, it was definitely the worst pain I've ever gone through when it comes to the miscarriage itself. But anyway, there was a lot of grief involved, a lot of sadness, and it was just very difficult for me to stay consistent with this kind of thing. And part of me says, well, I'm making, a channel about personal development, about consistency, staying consistent with videos and things like that, and staying consistent with, your career and your goals that you have. So it was very conflicting for me, and I felt very torn because I was grieving, but I also wanted to do things like this, which I love to do, and talk about these kinds of things, which I love to do. But I also knew that being pregnant and then knowing you're going to have a miscarriage, and the miscarriage itself, it's very physical. It's very draining on the body and the emotions. Not just, but when you're pregnant anyway, that kind of thing happens. But when you're going to have a miscarriage as well, and you're grieving, and you've still got pregnancy symptoms, it sucks. Like it really just takes it out of you. So I was able to stay somewhat consistent with my other channel, my relationship and dating channel, but this one kind of took a bit of a slide. But you know what? But I'm going to go through basically what I learned from this process, because even though it was difficult and it's probably the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life, I feel like I learned a lot from it, and I feel like I am stronger because of it as well. Like I felt more calm since everything. That's one thing that I've sort of developed. Like I feel like I don't care as much about, I think a lot of it to do is I don't really care too much about what people think of me. So it's really weird. Like I don't understand how, maybe there is some sort of like psychological thing behind it, but I don't understand how going through a really big trauma actually really calms you down. I would thought it would have given me more anxiety, more panicky sort of behaviors, when in reality it's actually done the exact opposite, and I have actually become more calmer, more motivated, more stronger from it, which is bizarre really, because I thought, oh, you would think that this kind of thing would set someone back really, really far. But it actually had the opposite effect on me. And maybe I'm just lucky, or maybe it's because I've learned so much about personal development over the years that I've kind of absorbed, painful things that have happened to me, big struggles, and managed to turn them into a positive anyway, because that is something that has happened to me, recurringly throughout my life. I thought that I'd already gone through like the worst pains imaginable, from like things that happened to me in my early childhood, to rejections that I had when I was a teenager, to having a pretty awful first romantic relationship, and also having just a lot of setbacks basically, and a lot of disbelief in myself and in self-esteem issues, and I overcame a lot of those things. But yeah, it's with this situation that has made me so much more calmer. So the miscarriage itself was extremely painful. I've never felt as much pain as that ever in my life. And I've heard it is similar to labour pains. But the thing that could make miscarriage a little bit worse is that you don't have the pain management that you get when you're in hospital and giving birth. So it probably felt more like having a home birth without having anyone there to help you really in terms of pain. Like I had my wife there obviously for emotional support, but I didn't have any like pain medication. And yeah, it was pretty horrible. Like I've never felt anything as painful as that in my own life. And if you're a woman watching this and you haven't had a miscarriage before and you're kind of curious as to what it feels like, then it feels like menstrual cramps, but way worse, like 1,000 times more painful. But the good news about it is that it's kind of short-lived, as in, well, it was for me at least. Like the whole when it got really painful, I think I only had about an hour and a half of feeling that way, and then I passed everything, and it all was gone and it was all over with. But it was really painful. You know, we called 111 for advice, and then it got so much that we even called 999 and paramedics came out. But luckily, by the time the paramedics arrived, things were actually starting to ease off, which I felt a little bit bad about because usually you're supposed to only call 999 in emergencies. But when we called 999, I didn't know I didn't know how much, I didn't know how long I was going to be in this level of pain for. Like, I thought maybe this could last for hours. I could be like another 12 hours going through this pain. I need some gas and air. I need some other kind of, I need something stronger to like help with the pain, like morphine or something. I don't know. You know, I needed something for the pain, and it just, I didn't know how long I was going to be like that. But luckily, when the paramedics did arrive, things were starting to ease off a little bit. And so I was very lucky in that regard that it didn't last too long. But what it was horrendous. Like, I've never felt anything like that before. But the positive from that was I've been through that pain, and I don't think pain can get any more worse than that. But I could be wrong, but it probably could. But because I felt that level of pain, and it's the most painful thing I've ever gone through, then, you know, I can easily do other things that are kind of uncomfortable, that are painful, you know, like having a really hard workout, you know, things like that. Like, I know I can get through that now because I've gone through such a level of pain that I can't even describe, and I managed to do it. I managed to survive it, basically, you know, because some people, you know, some women who have miscarriages, they don't, some of them don't survive. Some people hemorrhage, you know, and that was a big fear that we had. You know, I know my wife was definitely worried that that would happen to me. She was worried as well that I would go into shock, my body would go into shock or something. But luckily, none of that happened. I didn't hemorrhage, I didn't go into shock, and I managed to do everything naturally, even though I felt like at the time I didn't really cope that well because I was like flailing about like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, you know, just doing all that kind of thing because you just don't know what to do with yourself when you're in that level of pain. You can't calm yourself, you can't think. That's how painful it was. But now I know that I can go through so much less than that now. You know, I can go through tough things, basically. And that's made me a lot more calmer, definitely. And I think it takes going through something super painful like that to be able to do that. But also, one of the things that's got me through sort of like tough situations in the past, before this kind of thing happened, was thinking like, oh, if I've done this once, I can do it again. Like when it comes out to like exercising and working out, you know, if I can do this once, I can do it again. I did this on Tuesday, I can definitely do this today, you know, things like that. So, you know, I've used that sort of technique before, and maybe it's from using that sort of technique before that has made me handle this so well. Maybe, I don't know, but it's a lot of pain to go through, basically. And I just feel better in a way because of it. Obviously, I wish it hadn't have happened. I wish that my baby had survived. Although I know it's not my fault, you know, and it's not the baby's fault. Obviously, something was wrong. Usually miscarriages happen because something is actually wrong with the fetus, and it's the body's way of dispelling something that's not going to work out. So, you know, I don't have any shame about it. And I'm not like going, oh, why me, or anything like that. Although those things did come up a little bit in my mind, and then I just had to sort of like think about it in a logical way and think, you know, this is just the body's way of saying that something's wrong, and it wasn't going to be a very healthy child, or it wasn't going to survive anyway, you know, something like that. You know, that's usually the reasons for miscarriage. But I feel definitely stronger because of it, but it was just terrible to go through at the time. But now it's all over with. I feel up and ready to try again, you know, to have another baby at some point. Hopefully try again in the next couple of months. And hopefully the next time we'll be more successful. And yeah, we'll see what happens basically. But that's the reason why I haven't been as consistent on this channel, because I had to kind of put this one on a bit of a back burner and focus on my main channel for a while, because that's the one that most people watch, most people come to, and I can't not work. I have to keep on going. It's really difficult for me not to keep on doing what I'm doing and to work. I feel really conflicted when I'm not, even though there's been times when I've had to force myself not to do anything because of what's been happening to me emotionally and physically. And there's no virtue basically in going at it hard, when the most virtuous thing that you can do is to actually rest, or to have time for yourself. Sometimes that's the most virtuous thing to do, and you've got to understand your body, what it can take, what you can take emotionally. And it's been a big lesson for me. And I feel like I'm stronger because of it. I feel like I'm more calmer because of it. I feel like I don't care as much. Not like as in I don't care about people or anything like that, but I feel more calmer. I'm not worrying as much, shall we say. So that's what's happened. That's a bit of an update for you guys. I will be more consistent on this channel going forward, with all things considered. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.